caught my attention from the road, and I just thought I'd come in and look at it. You can see the end of it's been cut. It's old. However, it's been placed there. This structure, just happened to notice this structure from the highway. It's been placed there because the big end is up in the air and the small end is down. And it looks like it's been placed up against what might be an ironwood tree. Bigfoot researchers would say that this is a structure made for passing information among the Sasquatch, that it means something, giving directions for those that are traveling. It's not natural. That just didn't happen to accumulate there. Something did stack that up upside down like that. And then there's these bows. Researchers talk about them also, but that's not natural for that tree to be brought down to the ground like that. I can see the leaves are stirred up in here. As I look out through there, I can see evidence of something a bit moving around here. Walking through here. So I'm up on Laurel Ridge in the mountains above Uniontown. I hear crows coming. And some of the researchers think that the crows, the ravens, coyotes carry information to the Sasquatch. Letting them know when someone was entering into their area. The crows are off to my left, out there, out of sight somewhere, but I hear them. I can hear something that sounds like a sawmill or a big saw of some sort running in the background. Comes a car up the road. We were just on our way to get lunch at a restaurant somewhere. I bet you if a person would spend some time here, you'd probably see a lot of structures out through there. I'm just learning how to identify them. I would like to learn what they mean, or what message they carry. Now there's some more sticks stacked up together. Look how those things are like placed in there. They just give you the strong impression that it was placed like that. The things don't fall and land stacked like that. Huh. Well, I better be getting back to the car so we can go have lunch. It's hard to keep away from doing this kind of stuff when you're out, especially when you start to learn a little bit more each time. You start to recognize these things, stick leans and tree leans, and using terminology that others have coined because some kind of language had to be made up about these things so people could communicate with each other about what they are. And some of these little branches or trees that are leaned against other trees say a lot, the way I understand it, that they point in a specific direction, and the angle that they're laid in tells you, I guess, how far it is, or some other kind of information. I'd like to learn how to read them, and they're universal, I guess, from all the states in the United States, and Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand. The shapes are all identical to each other. So it's not just wind-blown piles of sticks or people doing it. They actually mean something, some kind of a universal language for travelers through the forest. And they have the same style everywhere. Well, I'm getting slowed down here. I should have gone on out to the car. I think I better get going. It sure is interesting. I walked out the day before yesterday, and I wanted to go again today, but I decided, well, we'd run up in the mountains for a ride like this. Not supposed to have a bad rainstorm coming. I thought I'd wait a couple more days before we went back out into the trees again, but here I am now. And there's Viv in the car. A little bit rough walking. She didn't have the right shoes. She didn't bring the right shoes, so, or she would have gone out there with me. She's as interested in this stuff as I am. Well, we just went down the road about 100 yards. Saw some more structures out through the woods. Happened to pass a state game lands parking lot. And went on by. Saw a big X marker up in the woods. So I turned around up there and come back down into the parking lot before we get to the restaurant. I want to walk up through the trees and get it on the film before I get out of here. There's Viv again. It's sprinkling now. I don't want to get stuck up in there if it starts to pouring. Get the camera and everything else wet. My grandparents had a cabin up in Garrett County, Maryland. When I was a little kid, we used to come up here and stay through the coal miners' vacation. My dad and my grandfather both were coal miners, and stay up at the cabin there. And my grandmother, she was from the mountains. We were from the lowlands just below the mountains. So she taught me about a lot of things in the mountains. Tea berries. They fruit in the wintertime. And that last place I was at, there was a lot of tea berries on the ground. Well, there's one of the little plants right there. Also known as wintergreen. And the little berries, you can eat them. They look like a wee tiny little apple. They're red. And they taste like wintergreen. And they actually look like the meat of an apple on the inside. I better get on up here and get a picture of that. I get it on film. Maybe I should have got in the car and drove back up along the road and then just got out to it, but I thought I'd like to walk up through the woods. So we should be coming up on it before too long. Tree structures. Nathan Rio from Utah has put a lot of effort in understanding these things. And he's a very intelligent young guy and dedicated. And he seems to be very truthful, very honest, in my opinion. He's probably my favorite researcher, but I've got a few of them also. There's Christopher Noel, who has put out a little booklet that's real easy to get on all of the different kinds of tree structures. Can you see that X way up there? I'm gonna walk up closer. What I would like to have, I think Christopher Noel calls his a field guide to structures. And you can get it as an EPUB publication online and download it and print it off. It costs a lot of effort to do this kind of work, and not only that, but money too. Because everything costs money. But anyway, I think 99 cents, I think it is, would cover the download. I think I'm going to download me one. Just discovered it last night. But well, you can see it there. I don't know exactly what information that would be transferring to somebody, but I think it means something. Right over that way through the trees, a couple hundred yards is, or maybe no, I think it's a little further. It's on over the hill there, straight ahead through those trees. A mile or so is the entrance to the Laurel Caverns. And it's really interesting to visit. I joined the Explorers Club oh, must have been 40 years ago. 30 or 40. And the reason was Laurel Caverns is open to the public, but they have a section of it that is a little too dangerous for the public to actually go walking around through. The trails and pathways in the cave haven't been developed where it's safe for everybody to walk. So anyway, I joined it so I could go down in there and nose around. You had to be a member of the Explorers Club there at Laurel Caverns. They put a green pigmented gas in there and picked up traces of it a month or so later in the Flint Ridge system in Kentucky. And this cave right here that I'm talking about is in the southwestern corner of Pennsylvania in Fayette County. And I had heard from some of the other people there that there was legend of a lost cave on this ridge here, and the best they could figure it was about 3 miles or so on south of here on the same ridge, and that the man that owned it, his name was Mr. Barton, and in an effort to commercialize it and open it up for the public, I had heard that he set some dynamite off to open it up, and anyway, he was killed in a rock fall, so it never went any further than that as Barton's Cave. And it inspired me to come up here. Had an old 47 Willys Jeep, and it inspired me to come up here and hunt around till I actually found it. I found a cave, and it was just as raw and natural as could be. A few of my buddies come up with me and we explored it. Ended up bringing our families up. We'd come up in the middle of the winter. It was 52 degrees year round, but I went through a learning curve there on those things. Learned that that's not a good thing to do, because if you happen to disturb the small brown bats that were inhabiting the cave, they would wake up out of their hibernation midwinter. There wouldn't be any insects outside for them to fly out at night and feed on. So the U.S. Speleological Society came out and put an iron gate across the entrance of the cave, and they only open it up certain times in a year when you can't disturb the bats in that way. But it inspired me to write a science fiction novel. I put it on my website, sold several copies, called The Caverns of Time, but I really didn't care if I sold any or not, because I just really enjoyed doing it. I just love being out in the woods. I've always felt like this is my default domain. And there's something very alluring about a path. There goes a path out through the game lands. You can see the markers on it. I wonder where that trail goes to. It's called Whitetail Trail, I believe. Well, something old, something very comforting though about moss in the woods. First thing you know, morel mushrooms will be popping up. I think I'm gonna go try to get some this year. Okay, that's Viv's Lincoln. She likes them big cars. It is a nice riding car. I don't care what I'm driving though, myself. Well, okay folks, I think if I keep after this, I'm going to actually make it to lunch. Better get the heck out of here.